Psychology, what it means to be human. Have you ever wondered why you think the way you do? Why certain memories stay with you while others fade away? Why you sometimes act in ways that surprise even yourself? These questions are at the heart of psychology, a field dedicated to understanding the human mind and behavior. Psychology is the scientific study of how we think, feel, and act. It explores the invisible processes happening inside our minds every moment of every day. Our thoughts, emotions, motivations, memories, habits, and decisions. All the things that make us who we are. The word psychology itself tells us something about this journey of understanding. It comes from two ancient Greek words, psyche, meaning soul or mind, and logos, meaning study or knowledge. So psychology is literally the study of the soul, the study of that inner essence that makes us alive and aware. The ancient Greeks were fascinated by the question of what animates us, what gives us our thoughts and feelings. And though our methods have evolved dramatically over the centuries, that fundamental curiosity remains the same. Think about it for a moment. Right now, as you listen to these words, your mind is processing information, making connections, maybe even wandering to your own experiences. That's psychology in action. And the beautiful thing is, we all share this experience of being human, even though each of our minds works in its own unique way. For centuries, philosophers pondered the nature of the mind. They asked profound questions about consciousness, perception, and human nature. But it wasn't until the late 1800s that psychology began to emerge as its own scientific discipline. Wilhelm Wundt, often called the father of experimental psychology, created one of the first laboratories dedicated to studying the mind. He wanted to measure consciousness itself, to understand reaction times, to make the invisible visible through careful observation and measurement. It was a revolutionary idea. Instead of just thinking about thinking, we could actually study it systematically. Over time, different schools of thought emerged, each offering their own lens through which to view human behavior. Behaviorism focused on what could be observed and measured. Actions, responses, learned behaviors. Sigmund Freud and psychoanalysis brought attention to the unconscious mind, those hidden drives and conflicts beneath the surface of awareness. Later, humanistic psychology celebrated human potential, asking not just what makes us behave, but what helps us grow, find meaning, and become our best selves. Each perspective added something valuable, like different instruments in an orchestra, each contributing to our understanding of what it means to be human. So how do psychologists actually study something as complex as the human mind? They use the scientific method, experiments, surveys, observations, and case studies. They design careful tests to answer specific questions about behavior. To reduce bias and ensure their findings are reliable, psychologists use control groups, random assignment, and standardized measures. They analyze data statistically to see patterns that might not be obvious to the naked eye. And importantly, they emphasize replication. Does an experiment's result hold up when other researchers try it again? This rigor is what separates psychology from armchair speculation. It's not just opinion, it's systematic investigation. Psychology has grown into a vast field with many branches, each exploring different aspects of human life. Cognitive psychology studies how we think, remember, make decisions, and solve problems. It's the psychology of the mind as an information processor. Developmental psychology follows us across the lifespan, from infancy through childhood adolescence, adulthood, and into old age. How do we grow and change? What stays the same? What shapes who we become? Social psychology examines how other people influence us, how we form impressions, conform to groups, help or hurt one another. It reveals that we're deeply social creatures, shaped by the presence of others in ways we often don't realize. Clinical psychology focuses on mental health, understanding psychological disorders, and developing treatments to help people heal and thrive. It's where science meets compassion, where understanding leads to genuine help. There are many other branches too. Biological psychology and neuropsychology explore how the brain and nervous system create our mental life. Health psychology looks at how our thoughts and behaviors affect our physical well-being. Industrial and organizational psychology studies behavior in workplaces. Each branch offers its own unique window into human nature. Throughout psychology's history, certain experiments and discoveries have revealed surprising truths about how we behave. Social psychology experiments showed how readily people conform to group pressure, even when they know the group is wrong. They demonstrated how ordinary people can obey authority figures to disturbing degrees, raising profound ethical questions about human nature. Learning research revealed how reinforcement and punishment shape behavior, not just in laboratory animals, but in classrooms, in families, in therapy sessions. These insights changed how we teach children, train animals, and help people overcome phobias and anxieties. These weren't just academic exercises. They were revelations about human nature that sometimes made us uncomfortable, but always made us wiser. Psychology isn't just something that happens in laboratories. It's woven into every moment of our daily lives. We form first impressions of people in just seconds, often based on subtle cues we're not even consciously aware of. And once formed, those impressions can be remarkably resistant to change. Our memories feel so vivid, so real. But memory isn't like a video recording. It's reconstructive. Every time we remember something, we're rebuilding that memory from fragments. We fill in gaps. We're influenced by suggestions, by what others tell us, by what we expect to have happened. Sometimes we remember things with perfect confidence that never actually occurred. This isn't a flaw. It's just how human memory works, prioritizing meaning and coherence over perfect accuracy. Understanding this can make us more humble about what we think we know, more open to the possibility that others might remember things differently, and more careful about the weight we give to memory in important situations. Let's talk about emotions for a moment. Emotions aren't just feelings that happen to us. They're sophisticated systems involving coordinated changes in our brain, body, and behavior. When you feel fear, your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, your attention narrows to potential threats. When you feel joy, your brain releases chemicals that make you want to approach, to connect, to celebrate. Emotions serve purposes. They signal danger, guide decisions, motivate action, and help us build social bonds. They're not weaknesses to be suppressed. They're adaptive responses that have helped humans survive and thrive for millennia. Stress, too, is part of this emotional landscape. A little stress can be motivating, sharpening our focus, and energizing us to meet challenges. But chronic stress, the kind that persists day after day, takes a real toll. It affects our sleep, weakens our immune system, and can contribute to long-term health problems. That's why stress management isn't just about feeling better in the moment. It's about protecting our health over a lifetime. What makes you you? This question lies at the heart of personality psychology. While we all share the same basic psychological processes, we express them in wonderfully different ways. Some people are naturally outgoing and energetic, others more reserved and thoughtful. Some are organized and disciplined, others more spontaneous and flexible. Psychologists have identified 5 broad personality traits that seem to capture much of this variation. Openness, the degree to which you're curious and open to new experiences. Conscientiousness, how organized and responsible you tend to be. Extroversion, whether you're energized by social interaction or prefer quieter settings. Agreeableness, how cooperative and compassionate you are with others. And neuroticism, your tendency to experience negative emotions like anxiety and sadness. These aren't rigid categories. They're dimensions along which we all fall somewhere. And they reflect both our genetic inheritance and the environments we've grown up in. Intelligence and abilities show similar patterns. We each have our own unique profile of strengths and challenges, shaped by both nature and nurture. The variation among us isn't a problem to be solved. It's the beautiful diversity of human experience. Sometimes, though, the mind struggles. Mental health challenges are a real and important part of human experience. Clinical psychology dedicates itself to understanding conditions like anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, and many others, not as character flaws or moral failings, but as complex interactions of biology, psychology, and environment. The good news is that effective treatments exist. Cognitive behavioral therapy, for instance, helps people identify and change unhelpful thought patterns and behaviors. It's not about just thinking positively. It's about learning skills, building awareness, and developing healthier ways of relating to your own thoughts and feelings. Therapy, at its best, is a collaborative process, a place where understanding leads to growth, where compassion meets science, where people can become more themselves, more whole. So why does all this matter? Why spend time understanding psychology? Because it touches every part of our lives. Education draws on psychology to understand how people learn. Marketing uses psychological principles to influence our choices. Technology designers apply psychology to create more intuitive interfaces. Athletes use sports psychology to perform at their peak. Public health campaigns rely on psychological insights to change behaviors that affect community well-being. But perhaps more importantly, understanding basic psychology can help each of us live better lives. It can help us understand ourselves more deeply, why we react the way we do, what patterns shape our behavior, what we might want to change, and how we might go about it. It can improve our relationships. When we understand how people form impressions, how they're influenced by emotions, how they need both connection and autonomy, we can relate to others with more skill and compassion. It can make us better communicators, understanding that memory is fallible, that people have different personality styles, that emotions serve purposes. All of this can help us navigate conversations with more patience and clarity. And it can make us more critical thinkers. When we understand how easily we're influenced by cognitive biases, by social pressure, by the way information is presented, we can think more carefully about the decisions we make and the beliefs we hold. Psychology, ultimately, is about making sense of what it means to be human. It's about taking seriously the inner lives we all live, the experiences we all have, the struggles we all face. It's about bringing scientific rigor to the questions that matter most. As you go about your day, Notice the psychology around you and within you. Notice how you remember, how you decide, how you feel, how you relate to others. Notice the incredible complexity of simply being a human being in the world. And remember that psychology isn't just an academic subject. It's the study of you, of everyone you know, of the rich inner world we all share. Understanding it means understanding ourselves a little better. And that understanding, that self-awareness, that compassion for the complexity of being human, that might be one of the most valuable things we can cultivate.